Oh, hello.
Hi. Happy
Th-
Friday, Mark Piker.
I wasn't saying hello to you. I was saying hello to all those wonderful people out there in the dark.
Well, I could be included in that.
Fine, although you're very brightly lit.
I know, the ring light really does wonders.
We're already off to a classic start. Hello, I'm Mark Pikerd, editor-in-chief of Playbill,
And I'm Felicia Fitzpatrick, the social media director.
and you're tuned in to today's episode of Playbill Live with Felicia and Mark.
It's been a while. I feel like we haven't done one in a minute.
It has been a while. Yeah, I was frankly dreading having to do this with you again because, as everyone knows, we have a long-standing off-camera feud.
Don't perpetuate that idea. We're best friends. He texts me all the time.
You texted me quite a bit on my vacation recently, which you know
The last night, we had things to discuss, but I tried to respect your boundaries, except for the one time that I needed to text you about work, and that was that.
Also, I feel compelled to point out because someone else thought that I was drinking scotch.
Yeah, I would have guessed that. Yeah.
At 11 a.m. I'm not. I drink iced coffee in a tumbler, and I drink wine in a coffee mug. So you never know what's going on.
I was going to say, you really keep people on their toes there.
That was one of my favorite exchanges that we've ever shared, Felicia, was the day that I was drinking out of a coffee mug at 5 p.m. And you said, I hope that's Irish coffee. And I said, no, it's red wine.
When was this?
I don't know. But it's time. It could have been yesterday.
The before times, before quarantine. Yeah. Well, great. Hi. So you had time off, but Broadway kept churning, even though you were taking some days off. Am I right?
So true. How many times have you watched Hamilton, Das Motion Picture?
Okay, only once, but that is because we watched it as a apartment family, and then space was desired before the next viewing. But I have very much been pitching a second viewing because I had a live tweet during it. So I was like, I want to actually experience the film.
So follow-up question. How many times did you see Hamilton on Broadway?
That is a great follow-up question. Only once, but it was the day that they filmed. So all of the stuff everyone's seeing on the screen, that's the performance I saw. It was June 26th, my half birthday, 2016. I also came out as queer at the Pride March earlier that day. So I came to the Richard Rodgers in glitter. It was a whole moment, really. You know.
This is your origin story.
It's what?
Your origin story.
Yeah, it's one of my it's an anecdote that I enjoy, not as much as losing my first tooth at Taco Bell, but it's a good one. Yeah.
Oh.
I had to write a fun fact for something the other day. I don't remember what it was, and it was fun fact related to your job, and I was like, how can I make this work for the Taco Bell anecdote? But I couldn't make it work.
Thank you for sharing that.
Anyway, so yes, Hamilton, what a time to be alive. It was so fun. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story? Look at where we are. Look at where we started. It was great.
Are you just going to run through all of your hackneyed copy from social media?
My what copy?
5 years?
My what copy? No.
Your genius copy that no one else has ever used?
Thank you. Yeah, I ended the live tweet with, and when our children tell our story, they'll tell the story of tonight. Because I was like, oh, this is such an emotional night for everyone to enjoy this together. Theater being accessible.
I mean, you know me. I'll never be satisfied.
That's the only lyric you ever reference. Which is my mom loved that number. She was like, Angelica. I'm like, yeah, major Aries energy for all of you.
I know. I'm actually workshopping on Zoom later tonight a one-man production of Angelica.
Honestly, would watch.
So it's a little, the premise of it is a little bit like Grey Gardens, where in Act 1, I play Angelica Schuyler. And in Act 2, I play Angelica Houston.
Here for it. Here for it. I'm so here for that. Also, I just found someone on Twitter last night was watching Smash for the first time. And so naturally I had to welcome them with open arms. Because I was like, Angelica Houston throwing martinis, Megan Hilty, Cat McPhee, what more do you need in life? But it was their first time. And I'm like, that's later than me. And I thought I was late.
The big number in Act 2 of Angelica, and there's a Angelica Squared.
Mm-hmm.
The big number in Act 2 is Angelica Houston on the set of Smash singing Have a Martini, Looking for a Face. It's a fast patter song.
Wow.
I I also love that I am completely making up a musical with our three guests watching, as if I'm in any position to improvise a musical with these three.
Should we do improv exercises when they come on?
No.
You're right. I'm not good at it either. I try to be yes and I'm not. I try. It's just not my ministry.
Now, I believe that is the number one rule in improv. When someone says something, you say absolutely not.
No, it's the opposite. And I feel like you could take a cue from that, mister. Yeah, yes and me here, please. But it's going to be good because we're going to talk about the Hulu documentary.
I think Andal taught us how to pronounce it. It's pronounced Hulu.
Yeah, I do need to work on my accent work too. Yeah. Hulu.
You've got the time. So, look, there's a lot of things to be watching, even though theater is on an intermission. You could rewatch Hamilton.
Right.
You could rewatch
Angelica.
And you could watch Angelica. DM me later for the private Zoom link.
Yep, and have your wine in a coffee mug.
Yep.
We'll all be there.
And then I'll have a martini with water. A martini with water in it.
Sure.
And then tonight, obviously, we are Freestyle Love Supreme, the new documentary that premieres on Hulu. And the next Friday.
Monday. Oh, you got it. Yep.
Oh, no, you know what? July 20th, there's Project Sing Out, Louise. The movie is
It's going to be great. Supporting theater education.
Haley Kilgore is there. I'm sorry, Whoopi Goldberg is there. I know. You're going to lose your mind.
No, I know. Robin Roberts from GMA. Lea Salonga, George Salazar, Colin Domingo. Right. Jelani Aladdin, Christiani Pitts. It's overwhelming, the talent in the best way.
And you can also next week watch Julie Andrews in Cinderella.
I was going to perform a clip from that, but I'll skip it. I'll skip it today.
Now, when I was growing up, famously, the Julie Andrews Cinderella was lost. They thought, we're never going to see this again. We're never going to see this again. We're never going to see this again. And you know what I said? I said, impossible things are happening every day.
That is beautiful.
So I went into my attic and I dug out my old kinescope that I had recorded. And I said, guys, bibbity bobbity boo, to interpolate something else. I got this covered. Here's Julie.
Yeah.
Julie called me up and she could not have been sweeter, but she's a fan. So that was a nice conversation.
Did you really get to talk to her though? Are you doing a bit? I mean, I know there's a bit, but is that a continuation of the bit or is that real?
Well, just because I say things in a funny voice doesn't mean they're not true.
I mean, look.
But no, I have not spoken to Julianne.
Because that would be other level.
I mean, we have a whole thing. Jack Warner was after me for advice on casting My Fair Lady. And I said, look.
Naturally.
She's never opened a movie before. She's never done a movie before. I need to go with that new kid, Audrey Hepburn. Well, Julie never forgave me, so.
I'm so sorry. I also, I just have to say, I had never seen the Leslie Ann Warren one. I have not seen the Julie Andrews one because Brandy is the one I grew up with. And I'd like it to be on the docket if we're just covering the, canon, not the canon of Cinderella, but if we're covering all the properties, I'm just trying to manifest that, okay?
You know what? Put that on your vision board.
I just might. And write it down 50 times and it'll come true.
You do bring up the Brandy a lot.
Because I'm sorry, I'm not going to try to get into it, but I just saw a TikTok the other day that was it was a cultural reset for the American theater because it was so good. The casting, they were all really talented. And then of course it was just Whoopi Goldberg, Victor Garber, and they have a son that's Paolo Montalban. And we just all accepted it. And it just inspired so many artists of our generation. And that's my soapbox for today. Maybe. Well, this is number one.
Yeah. I love that.
Anyway, enough about me. Maybe again. Who's to say?
Brandy Cinderella. Well, my favorite story from Cinderella is they were recording and Brandy sang down on one of the songs, and Whitney Houston took off her looks at Brandy and goes, "What are you
down there?" Right.
And Brandy said, I sang down, and Whitney Houston said, "Don't you ever sing that."
It's so iconic. I'm gonna watch it after this, after work. I don't know. I just love that.
I mean, that's when she did her debut album. I was talking to Clive Davis, and I was like, don't ever let her sing down. So it's a real travesty of a talent for Whitney Houston to ever sing down. And she always remembered that advice.
You're so influential. I mean,
I've been around.
I know. I'm so grateful that I get to witness your magic every day.
I mean, it's like the day that Laurette Taylor brought the script to me and said, I don't know, it's been a while. Should I do this? And I said, this glass menagerie? Skip it.
Oh, wow.
And then the rest is history. So I'm not always right.
I'm so sorry. Finish up that scotch and let's bring our guests on, please.
Also, I would like to apologize because I don't know what is wrong with me other than I had 3 days off for the first time since March.
Correct.
And raring to go.
I love it. The energy is palpable and I love it.
I've also replaced water with iced coffee.
Right. And that was coffee in my mug too, to be clear.
So that was a wink.
I saw.
Should we bring on our guests?
I think that'd be best.
I think this is already off the rails, so let's see how this goes.
All right, the yes and does, and that's all we need.
We always need a yes and. All right, here we go.
I'm
1, 2, 3.
For them. Booyah! Hey. I don't know what y'all just witnessed, but hi.
It was lovely. I could watch this all day.
I witnessed the fact that Mark is actually has no age and also is kind of like the cool version of entertainment's Forrest Gump. So he just goes through people's lives and touches them in different ways, whether it be negatively or positively. It's the fact that he just leaves his entertainment footprint everywhere, yet he can speak a full sentence and he's not, he's very, 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 very okay. I think it's awesome. Mark, what you've done for the industry is great. We won't get into our origin story because it's just way too long. We'll talk about Freestyle of Supreme, but what you've done, Mark, is just brilliant. Thank you for everything.
I mean, well, look, and you guys might not even know the story, but years ago, I was having dim sum with Jason Egan, and I said, I don't know if you know these guys. I think they might be worthwhile. And he was like, well, just write it down. And so I don't know if he still has that slip of paper. I think I misspelled it, but Freestyle of Supreme, that was all me.
Mark, you weren't supposed to tell that story. Tommy does not like that out. It's the story is Tommy, Lynn, and Anthony created the group. We'll just edit that out. Whoa, this is live. Never mind. Anthony, go ahead.
Unfortunately, they took the slip of paper at dim sum because they thought that's what your order was.
Oh, man.
The Freestyle of Supreme is
not me.
Delicious.
But you know what? This is only.
And they brought you another order of stuff. It was the Xiaobing order.
Hello, guys. I'm sorry. This is your first introduction to Playbill Live and me and Felicia. Thank you so much for doing this. We have been so excited ever since the documentary was announced for Sundance, which is just one of the many wild steps that this group has had over the years. And now you're on Hulu.
Captain Hulu, reporting for duty.
How did the documentary come about?
Oh my goodness. Accidents and accusations. It's like a Paul Simon song. I think the way that it came about was that our dear friend Andrew Freed, who we didn't know at the time, kind of like stumbled on the show. He had a friend who knew that he was into improv. He had done stand-up, and he just started working at Radical Media. And this was right around the time Radical Media was kicking around this idea called Mad Men and doing a lot more like integrated content around a show, like a feature, a broadcast show. And so he listened to his friend. He came to see this thing. This is like July 15th of 2005. And he was like, what the hell did I just see? He was really mad, actually. He was very upset at us. He was like, I can't do that. And my whole life I would probably spend trying to do that. I think he could. And we did actually at Sundance get him to do a little freestyling. It only took him 15 years. And he was like, how do they do that? That's really cool. And also the connection they have with each other, the support that they show each other. I wish I had friends like that. And then he sort of like convinced John Kamen to give him a little bit of money to then come to Edinburgh, because we were leaving in 2 weeks to go and do the Edinburgh Fringe Fest. And he somehow got the money together to come in and follow us and record whatever we were doing there. And so that's a lot of this footage that's in this movie is from that trip when we were in Edinburgh.
I have to know, when did you guys realize that this was a skill set that you possessed?
Well, it's probably different for all of us. James? Well,
I was around 10, 11. I wanted to be a rapper, so I was writing down raps, and guys in school wanted to battle, and I realized.
Will you please tell them your Hayward OG nickname?
I was Master J, and it was terrible. And then I switched up from Master J to Def J, DEF-J. And I used to write it in the back of my head, or I should say I had brothers, doing haircuts, cut it. And every 2 weeks I'd have it cut in different fonts in the back of my head. And brothers were battling. And I was, I realized in the middle of the battle, I would be winning. I'd be winning to a point. And then, I would lose, but all the stuff was written down. So I was like, okay, if I could just be able to rap on the spot, I can keep winning. So guys would be whooping my behind for 4 rounds. And then you realize they have nothing else to say. And that's when the freestyle came in, and I can talk about their shoes, their mama, their clothes and everything. And it just became the thing. And so then it just became a cool trick just to tease the girls. You walk up to a girl, start rapping about it. She's like, "Oh my God, he wrote a song for me." And you're like, "Yeah, baby, I wrote a song for you." Never in a million years did I think I'd find some like-minded, family like FLS that we'd be able to do this on stage. And when I met Chris Jackson in the Bay Area many moons after high school, he was telling me about this group, and I was like, "This sounds something right up my alley." And that's how it all came together. At least for me, how it came together.
Yeah, I personally, always loved rhymes. I was obsessed with Dr. Seuss and would write poems about monsters. And, I definitely had favorite rap cassette tapes, Young MC's Stone Cold Rhymin'. I had an NWA tape that my dad bought for me because the guy at the record store was like, "This is supposed to be good." And he didn't even know what it stood for. And I listened to it once and I hid it immediately after I listened to it. I would take it out and listen to it and be like, "This is amazing." And then hide it again. I'm like, I'm going to hide this thing that he gave me. But I didn't actually start freestyling. I was in rock bands in high school, but a buddy of mine at Wesleyan freshman year was like, "I think you're going to like this." My buddy Jeff Malamy. We went into a dorm room and he played an instrumental cassette, and we just started rapping about the things in the room. And I was obsessed from that point on. At that point on, I just tried to pull more people into it. I was like, "Oh, this isn't the most fun game for my brain." I was obsessed. And I got into the battle scene in Oakland, California as well. And that was a blast. But when Anthony and I reconnected after college, rapping and not making fun of someone, rapping to lift somebody up or to connect with the audience really became the "Oh, this is home. This is exactly what I want to be doing with my time." So very lucky to cross paths with Anthony, both at college and then after school. Yeah.
More music. So Young MC was very influential on me as well. I mean, I wanted to know every single word on that album. And there was this one thing called the world's fastest rhyme. James, Jelly, do you remember it? Oh, Young MC, that is my name. What do you know? What is my game? Rock down the mic is my like. What do you know? My name is on the mic, on the mic, in the place, and rocking the face to the vicious face, the vicious on the rock until you can't go on. And it's just crazy. And it's so this minute of Young MC, just before Rabbit Run ever came out. This is just a straight right for the throat. And I was like, I have to know every single word this person's saying. And I just started doing that with more and more albums. So probably by 1994, I had about 150 front to back albums memorized. You could ask me the middle song of, a crazy Fushnikins, and I'd be like, "Oh, cool, yeah, it's like, cool, let's do it." Yeah, totally. And so I think I built this neural network inside of my brain around digesting hip hop and kind of how the mathematical sense of it, how it kind of lays in almost like Tetris. It's like, oh, Sadat X style. He's kind of like, how about his? How about huh? So cool. So that's kind of how that math works for that rapper. And then, Quest, Fight Dog, he's a little bit more like this. And so all of that stuff just kind of I think created some of this groundwork for when I got to college and was kicked off the soccer team. I auditioned for the improv troupe, and one of the games I did was called the Song Game, and this is in the mid '90s, so everyone wants to hear rap, and so they always shouted out rap, and I was the kid who could kind of like do rap in the improv troupe.
Gag reflex. I was a fan. I was like a little fanboy of the improv group that Anthony was in college.
Oh.
Yeah, big fan.
Is this one of those things that you come back to periodically, Freestyle Love Supreme, where you think like, oh, this is this fun thing that I do, and then a couple of years later, you're like, we have to do this again. We have to get back together, because the metamorphosis of this group and the show, from like Ars Nova to Off Broadway and Joe's Pub and Broadway and now a documentary. Are you always happy to come back to one another?
Freestyle Supreme is always there. Freestyle Supreme is not something we put on the back burner. Freestyle Supreme is something that we do, and then it's the core group. It's kind of like a nerd thing. It's kind of like the Avengers. We have a group, and when we are needed, we all heed the call. There's a moment where they say they'll call. How do you know they'll call? Because they'll be needed. We have other projects, we have other companies, we have other things that we do, and then when the Freestyle of Supreme banner goes up into the air, we see the FLS sign, we all just come running, because it's just a part of our DNA. It's just who we are. And each time we come running, when we get there, there's a new member, and we're like, someone who thinks like us. Great, beautiful, awesome. So next time they put the banner up, a new member will be there. The family will be ready. But it's never something that's like, oh, I forgot about that. No, Freestyle Supreme is always there. And everybody in the group pretty much freestyles daily, whether we realize it or not. There is something that we do that you can ask our spouses, you can ask our significant others. They love it and they hate it at the same time. We are constantly freestyling about things that do not need to be freestyled about. So our lovers love it when the group is together, because we can shut up and get away from them and do it on stage. This is the honest to God truth. That's why the boys are laughing, because they know it's true.
And that takes a lot to move James into the Marvel universe away from DC. So that was huge.
What was one of your favorite moments during the Broadway run of was there a memorable suggestion or something like that you guys will carry with you?
Yeah, lots. Wow. We play this game called Second Chance, where we get to hear a full story from an audience member of a moment in their life that went horribly wrong, something they wish they could do over, do something different, say something different, have something different happen to them. So we heard an array of amazing stories. There was 1 week where we heard multiple like animal deaths in a row. Like this poor dude baked his turtle because he was worried that he was like 5 years old, and he was worried the turtle was cold, and the turtle, and then there was a girl who's driving home from a party, hit ice and ran into a barn and killed a pig. And they're still kind of like minorly traumatized by these stories, and then we get to reenact them, and somebody inevitably is going to play a turtle, play a pig that dies, which is hilarious, but also cathartic. It's this thing that's silly, but then people get to like have an experience of like, oh, I feel a little better about that pig
that
aside.
moment, right?
Yeah.
What kind of car was she driving?
Wow, that's a detail that Anthony would remember that none of us would. He's like, oh, it was an '86 Camry. Us would be like, oh,
no, it was a Chevrolet. It was a Chevy.
I think it was.
That's also a funny moment. There's a moment in our show where Anthony does an interview, and it's always my favorite moment, because Anth is so good at the interview, and he's so good at controlling the situation, but the people up there that he has to deal with, it's not the people that are funny, it's Anthony's reaction to the people when they get up there. We had 2 young brothers who came up, and one of them both of them I knew, and they knew me, and they were fans of James Iglehart. So watching them come up and see me on stage and then flip out, but one of them actually just took over the show, and Sis is popular now. Sis has now done interviews with all kinds of people. Like this this is now a Broadway star and not on Broadway yet. And his Broadway debut was Anth bringing him up on stage and interviewing him, and it was just so amazing to watch the spirit of his love for Broadway come out and then be noticed, but watching Anth's reaction to all the stuff that was happening. And we've had old ladies, we've had old men, we've had guys who have tripped up the stairs coming up to be with, one guy, remember the guys, the guy decided that as he was coming up the stairs, he was going to take off his shirt while walking upstairs with no railings. So as he's taking off his shirt, he just literally bites it on the stage. And we have to all just be professional. We are losing it. And then Anth has to act like it's totally okay for this boy just to
Was he requested to take his shirt off, or that was just organic?
He was like, oh, I'm gonna go on stage. I should take my shirt off.
He was improving.
It was a long sleeve. Yeah, it was a long sleeve thing over top of. I think he really wanted us to see that he was wearing a Wakanda Forever shirt, if I'm not mistaken.
I see.
Oh, so good.
So he was like, I just want to. So, but anyway, one of the favorite nights for me on Broadway is probably when my daughter, who made this for me, by the way. So this is for the premiere tonight. They just did a pamper session for me. They created a little spa where they did my nails. They totally did my nails up. Put cucumbers on my eyes and put a clay mask on me. I feel ebullient.
You're glowing.
Thank you. And so my oldest daughter, her name is Jataya. Jet flew out on her own because I usually live in San Francisco, and she was staying with me, and she came to see the show. And she was a little bit shy about being out in the audience, but she knew that there was an audience, and she had kind of known what I do and had seen a couple of things, but I don't know if she ever really pieced it all together. And so I got to do a true about how, and this is one of the songs we get to do in the show where we get to talk a little bit about ourselves. And I did a rap all about her and about her being so brave and coming out here and how much it meant to me. And that it's really hard for me to do this show because I'm away from my family. And the only reason why, tonight I might have this kind of glow about me besides the mask was that my daughter was there. And so that one I remember pretty well. And it was a nice moment she and I got to share because she's only 9 years old. So that's it's kind of this interesting awareness. And so she came out with me afterwards to sign autographs, and everybody wanted her autograph. It was amazing.
Well, I hope after all that at the spa day earlier, she gave you the fancy water.
It was not only bubbly, but it also had mango in it.
Oh, come on.
Ooh. Wow.
So I'll show you a quick picture of the spa.
Yes.
Profile pic. Oh, wow.
You look relaxed.
Perfect.
I was totally relaxed.
Before we have to wrap up, because unfortunately we have to wrap up soon, what are you excited for people to see in the documentary?
To be perfectly honest, I think there's a moment where Broadway fans, any fans, when you see people on stage, there's a moment where there's a disconnect of their journey and you just see the finished product. So you look up there and you go, oh my God, Lynn wrote Hamilton. He's got everything. Oh my God, Chris Jackson is Washington. He's got everything. You don't realize what these performers went through to get to this moment. And I think one of the things I love about the Freestyle of Supreme documentary is the journey that you get to see them on. You get to see them not be Lynn on the cover of Entertainment Weekly. You get to see them not Chris on Bull on CBS. You get to see guys who no one knows working their butts off, trying to get people to come see them. And that seems unfathomable now to look at where all of the people in our group where they've gotten to, but back then they were just starting out. And it's wonderful I think for performers to see this journey. So you'll see, yes, there is a journey. We are 15 years breakout stars. It happened overnight over the course of 15 years with, rapping in front of 2 people to 5 people to 500 people to colleges to rapping in malls about soda pop. I mean, there's all kinds of things that have happened, and this journey will show you that yes, you can make it, but you are going to have to go through a journey, and the only way to do it is to stay true to yourself and true to the crew that you got there with. And I think that's something that every performer, no matter what your place in the performance hierarchy, needs to see. Sometimes you need to be reminded where you came from. And then when you're just starting out, you need to see, oh, I've got a long journey to go through. And you get to see it. You get to see where these performers came from and where they are now. And then you get to see that moment of us being older and wiser and yet still having fun doing the things that most of us are older. The wiser part, it all depends on what our significant others say. And so I think that's one of the things that, at least that's what I hope folks take away from it when they see it.
So this is your Avengers origin story.
How did Freestyle Love? So how did one of the dopest improvisational hip hop groups ever come together? This is that story.
I love that. I'm so excited to watch the premiere tonight. Are you guys doing
Jelly?
it?
Jelly, how about for you? I would love to actually hear Jelly's on this too. If that's okay.
Yeah. For me, seeing Anthony and Lynn and Chris and Tommy and Bill way back in the day, it reminds me of me just getting out of college and, entering battle scenes in Oakland and just like the different facial hair and weird clothes we were wearing at the time. But just the excitement in those young dudes out of college, having no idea what trajectory things were going to go to. I never thought I'd be on Broadway, certainly not freestyle rapping, but it reminds me, I look back at me at that age and I'm like, oh, I hope this reminds people to follow what just gives them joy and lights other people up, because that's what they were doing 15 years ago. And then they kind of gathered us as we went, all of us kind of following our joy, and our paths intersected. And it's this thing where like, we didn't do it because we would get to Broadway. We did it because we loved it, and they were doing it because they loved it. And it just like grew. That's the love of Freestyle Love Supreme. That was always there, and it just grew. So, yeah.
And Anthony, what are you?
Yeah, ever so quickly. I can't wait to see. There's this scene in the movie where Lynn goes into Taco Bell and loses a tooth. Oh wait, no, Felicia, that's you. No, call back. Sorry,
that was beautiful. Beautiful execution.
We have to do a call.
Yes, 100%. You got me so good.
Totally nailed. Anyway, I think for me, it's about like this message of men being vulnerable with their feelings with each other. I just don't think that that's something that really is shared very often. And I think this show and the way that we formed, our friendships and what we mean to each other, and how friendships change over time as well. And, there's a couple of moments in this where, you're probably gonna be like, oh, damn, I didn't know that. Or, wow, that sounds like it was pretty hard. To continue to show love and to support each other through all these different moments, through the difficulties. I think that's also that secret sauce that keeps bringing the Avengers back.
That was beautiful, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah,
thanks, Felicia. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you guys so much. This was so much fun, and both Felicia and I every Friday are just dragging, and you guys have really put some pep back into us. Yeah.
3 days off, Mark. I don't think you were losing any. You are at the top of your game right now.
But I forgot that anytime you take any time off, it takes 2 full days to unwind.
Right.
And you can actually relax and enjoy vacation. So at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, I was like, oh, yes, I'm ready. Oh, wait. Right.
That's why Jack Warner told the rest of the Warner Brothers, look, we don't take no days off. We just keep
And
doing
you know
this.
what? They did. And that's why it was Warner Brothers, but only Jack Warner at that studio.
That's it. Call back. Got to bring it back.
Thank you guys so much. Anyone watching, tune in. We Are Freestyle Love Supreme is on Hulu. So
Brain.
that's how you do an air horn, Felicia, by the way.
This is how I do an air horn. Wow, 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 wow. Like you can understand that, right?
Yeah, it's a kitty air horn. It's a very nice kitty air horn.
I will take
Nice.
All right, we're back. We're off the rails again.
I get
Thank you guys
it.
so much. Thank all of you for tuning in. Felicia, thank you for putting up with me. As always.
Anytime.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye, thanks.